It all began on a night when the city streets glistened wet with rain, each drop reflecting the chaotic neon glow of signs from bars and shops, turning the sidewalks into liquid rainbows. Maya had never intended to storm into Lucas's loft that evening. She had rehearsed her words 100 times in her mind, pacing her apartment, trying to summon calm, trying to find reason, trying to remind herself that confronting him after all this time could either heal or destroy them. But as soon as she stepped into the building lobby and pressed the call button, the months of pent-up frustration, longing, and unresolved anger surged through her veins, giving her no choice but to act impulsively. By the time she reached his door, her hand trembled, not with fear, but with a potent mix of defiance and desire. Lucas opened the door before she could knock, casual as ever, leaning against the frame with that infuriating half-smile of his. "Maya," he said, but the usual warmth of his greeting was absent. There was a flicker of surprise, and maybe even unease, in his eyes. He wasn't expecting her, not tonight, not with the storm of emotions she carried with her. And she wasn't going to let him off easy this time. "You've been avoiding me," she said sharply, stepping inside before he could respond. "For months. And I'm done pretending like that's okay." Her words hung in the air like shards of glass, sharp and accusing. Lucas's eyes darkened, and for a fleeting moment, she saw vulnerability flicker behind his confident exterior. "Maya, it's not what you think," he began, but she cut him off, her impatience blazing like the storm outside. Don't even start. You've had your excuses, your distance, your secrets. I've been patient, Lucas. But I'm done being patient." The tension in the room was palpable. It wasn't just the thunder rolling outside or the flickering lights, it was the weight of months, even years, of unsaid words and suppressed emotions. She took another step closer, her heart hammering, a mix of fear and exhilaration threatening to overwhelm her. Then, before she could second-guess herself, she grabbed the hem of his shirt and pulled. The fabric tore sharply under her grip, leaving a jagged line across his chest. Lucas gasped audibly, stumbling backward. "Hell, you'll make me lose my mind," he exclaimed, voice low, rough with emotion, caught somewhere between frustration and the thrill of something he couldn't, or wouldn't, resist. He ran his hands over the ripped cloth as if trying to make sense of what had just happened, his chest on his, searching for a sign, a crack in his armor that would confirm he still felt the same way she did. For a long moment, neither moved. The room seemed to shrink around them, the walls closing in, the storm outside mirroring the tempest inside. Maya's fingers trembled as she reached for his arm, her voice quieter now, almost a whisper. "I never stopped loving you, Lucas. I never did." His expression softened, the raw tension giving way to something gentler, something vulnerable that he rarely let anyone see. He opened his mouth, hesitated, then finally said, "Maya, I didn't think you still." "Yes," she interrupted, stepping closer, her hands resting against his chest. The faint warmth beneath his skin and the rapid beat of his heart were unbearable in their intensity. "I never stopped, and I can't just walk away." Lucas closed his eyes, taking a deep, shuddering breath, his own hands trembling as they hovered near her. "You don't know what I've been carrying," he said, voice barely audible. "Things you shouldn't. I can handle it," she said firmly, cutting through his hesitation. "I want to handle it. I want the truth. I want you. I've waited long enough." The room seemed to shrink even further, the storm outside pounding against the windows as if in sync with the pounding in their chests. And then Lucas did something he hadn't done in months. He let go of his careful composure and allowed himself to be vulnerable. He reached out, cupped her face gently, and spoke with a raw honesty that made her chest ache. "Maya, there's something you need to know. Something I should have told you months ago, maybe even years. I didn't mean to keep it from you. I wanted to protect you." Maya blinked, taken aback. Her anger and frustration mixed with a sudden, jarring fear. "Protect me, from what?" she asked, her voice trembling, caught between dread and the need to understand. He swallowed hard, eyes searching hers for patience, for understanding. "From a mistake I made, from people who might still be after me, from the consequences of choices I made when I thought I was alone. I didn't want you involved. I didn't want you to get hurt." Her hand tightened on his chest, heart lurching. "Lucas, I don't care about the danger. I don't care about the past. I care about us, about now. If we can face it together, then we're stronger than any mistake, any threat." Her voice was fierce but tender, a mix of love and determination. He looked at her, really looked at her, and in that gaze, all the fear, all the distance, all the avoidance melted away. He saw the truth in her eyes, the love that had never faded, the courage that had never wavered, the bond that had withstood time and pain. For the first time in months, maybe years, he allowed himself to surrender, to the storm outside, to the chaos between them, to the undeniable pull that had always existed. The blackout that followed, a sudden flicker of darkness as the city lights died under the storm's fury, seemed almost symbolic. There were no distractions, no shields, no facades. In the shadows, with only the sound of the rain and their breathing, they were stripped to their core. Hands brushed accidentally, then intentionally. Hearts raced in a synchrony that defied reason. And in that moment, they were no longer two people hurt by misunderstandings and fears, they were two people finding each other again, for the first time in a long time. Lucas's hand found hers, fingers intertwining with a familiarity that was both shocking and comforting. "I've missed this," he murmured, voice low and almost lost to the sound of the rain. "I've missed you, and I've been a fool to let fear keep me away." Maya's chest tightened, tears welling but not falling. "Then don't ever let fear guide you again," she whispered. "We face it together. Whatever it is, we face it together." The storm outside raged on, but inside the loft, a quiet understanding settled between them. They weren't perfect, they weren't healed, and the night was far from over, but for the first time in a long time, they were real, completely and unapologetically. Every tear, every laugh, every heartbeat that night was a declaration. Love was worth the risk, worth the fight, worth every storm they had endured separately and together. And in that raw, electric night, something unspoken passed between them. Not just desire, not just relief, not just forgiveness, but a promise, fragile yet unbreakable, that whatever happened next, they would face it side by side. Morning light filtered through the blinds, soft and tentative, spilling across the loft in pale stripes that danced over the remnants of the night. The storm had passed, leaving the city streets glistening and quiet in the aftermath, but inside, the echoes of yesterday's revelations lingered like a warm hum. Maya stirred beneath the covers, her hair tangled and damp from the rain that had followed her home, and for a moment, she allowed herself to breathe, to simply exist in the safety of this space where Lucas was. He lay next to her, shirtless now, the torn fabric discarded on the floor, a silent testament to the storm of emotions they had survived together. She traced a finger lightly along the faint line where the fabric had torn, and a shiver ran down her spine, not from the memory of aggression, but from the intimate closeness that had been forged in that chaotic, vulnerable night. Lucas's eyes opened slowly, and the first thing he saw was her, sunlight catching in the edges of her hair, highlighting the curve of her cheek and the warmth in her gaze. For a moment, he simply looked at her, memorizing her features, storing this quiet, unguarded morning into his memory. "Morning," he murmured, voice rough, still tinged with the emotions of the previous night. Maya smiled softly, a mixture of amusement, tenderness, and lingering fatigue. "Morning," she replied, stretching her arms above her head, letting out a small yawn that seemed to punctuate the relief she felt. She reached for him, fingers brushing his chest, tracing the contours of the muscles that had tightened and relaxed under her touch countless times before, yet never with this intensity of connection. They lay together in a silence that wasn't awkward, it was comfortable, grounding, and needed. After months of tension, distance, and unsaid words, this quiet morning felt like a reprieve, a chance to breathe and simply exist in the same space without pretense. Yet beneath the calm was a tension that neither could ignore, the lingering consequences of the secrets Lucas had revealed, the threats that still lurked in his past, and the undeniable realization that their lives had just shifted in ways that would demand more courage than either had anticipated. Over breakfast, which Lucas insisted on making despite Maya's teasing protests, they talked, really talked, for the first time in what felt like forever. Not about small, inconsequential things, but about their fears, their regrets, and the choices that had kept them apart. Lucas explained, in painstaking detail, the threats that had forced him to distance himself, the mistakes he had made when he thought he was alone, and the heavy burden of guilt that had weighed on him for years. Maya listened, sometimes nodding, sometimes pressing a hand to her heart, feeling the depth of his vulnerability and the raw honesty that he offered her now. "I should have told you sooner," he admitted quietly, breaking a silence that had stretched too long. "I was afraid that by bringing you into my mess, I would put you in danger, or worse, that I'd lose you anyway." His voice cracked slightly, betraying the strength he had maintained for so long. Maya reached across the table, taking his hand in hers. "Lucas," she said softly, "I don't care about the danger. I don't care about the past. I care about us, right here, right now. If we face this together, we can handle it. We have to." Her words were steady, yet they carried the weight of every lonely night she had spent longing for him, every hope she had held onto, and every piece of herself she had dared to risk. The day stretched on, and with each passing hour, the city outside seemed to mirror the pace of their reconciliation. The lingering tension gave way to laughter, shared memories, and the gentle ease of two people rediscovering the rhythm of each other's presence. They spoke about mundane things too, favorite books, old movies, moments from their past that had once made them laugh, but even these trivial topics carried a tenderness now, a sense of intimacy that had been absent for far too long. But life, relentless and persistent, refused to pause. By late afternoon, the first shadow of challenge crept into their renewed closeness. Lucas's phone buzzed incessantly, messages that spoke of a rival from his past, someone who had resurfaced with intentions that threatened not just his career, but the fragile peace he and Maya had just begun to build. His expression darkened as he read the messages, jaw tightening, eyes narrowing. Maya noticed immediately and placed a hand over his. "We face it together," she reminded him, echoing her promise from that morning. The coming days tested them in ways both expected and unforeseen. Lucas faced pressure from people who wanted to exploit his past, business dealings teetering on the edge of collapse, and the remnants of mistakes he thought he had buried long ago. Maya was right beside him through every confrontation, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt. Her support was unwavering, fierce, and comforting, a constant reminder that he wasn't alone. And with each obstacle, each moment of fear or tension, their bond deepened, not just because of their love, but because of the trust they were building in the face of adversity. The true turning point came unexpectedly one evening when Lucas had to make a choice that could have cost him everything. Standing on the rooftop of his building, the city spread out below them in a tapestry of lights, he turned to Maya, who stood beside him, rain-soaked from the sudden evening drizzle, eyes steady, unwavering, and filled with determination. "I could walk away," he said, voice tight, "and protect us by staying distant. Or I can face this head-on, knowing that whatever happens, we face it together." Maya's hand found his, gripping firmly. "Then choose the one that keeps us together," she said simply, unwavering. Her gaze held his, unflinching, and in that moment, Lucas realized that no threat, no past mistake, no fear could outweigh the bond they had forged. He saw in her eyes a reflection of his own heart, and it gave him courage he hadn't realized he possessed. He smiled, the first genuine, unguarded smile in months, and for a long moment, they just stood there, the wind whipping around them, rain washing over them, and the city below alive but somehow distant. "We're going to be okay," he said, voice steady now, full of certainty. "Because whatever comes, we face it together. Always." Tears brimmed in Maya's eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness, they were relief, gratitude, and a profound recognition of the strength they had built together. In that rooftop moment, amidst the storm and the uncertainty, they weren't just surviving, they were thriving, creating a foundation that no past misstep, no challenge, no threat could shake. The days that followed solidified their new understanding. They faced challenges with honesty, confronted fears head-on, and rebuilt trust not just through words, but through actions, small gestures, shared victories, and unwavering presence. And through it all, the city, once a backdrop of chaos and uncertainty, became a canvas for their renewed love, a reminder that even in the storm, light could find its way through. By the time the week drew to a close, they had not only survived the immediate threats, they had emerged stronger, more connected, and deeply aware that their love was worth every risk, every tear, every sleepless night. Lucas looked at Maya one evening, sitting together on the rooftop again, city lights reflecting in their eyes. "I almost lost my mind last night," he said softly, voice carrying the echo of their journey. "But I found it again, with you." Maya laughed softly, the sound mingling with the gentle hum of the city. "Then don't ever let me go," she said, a promise wrapped in a whisper, and in that simple exchange, they both knew, without doubt, that they never would. The storms might return, challenges might arise, but together, they could face anything. Their love, tested and forged in fire, was unbreakable, a testament to resilience, courage, and the unwavering power of choosing each other, again and again.